Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, no matter where you're at in the world. This is Yuri, aka Russian Prototype. Thank you for being here. Yesterday, we had a great conversation about long distance relationships, and today we decided to do part two with another live guest joining us momentarily. So it's going to be another interesting conversation. I see we have 5 people in the chat already watching live. Thank you, every single one, for being here. I appreciate that very much. The topic of today's live stream is thriving versus surviving in a long distance relationship, part two. Before we jump into this particular conversation, I wanted to give you a few quick announcements. Actually, right now it's storming pretty hard right here in Florida. So just in case, should I lose electricity and should Wi-Fi disconnect, I'm going to use my phone as a hotspot to jump back in. So just realize if for some reason I'm going to be kicked out of the live stream, just come back in a moment, and I'm going to jump on the live stream through my phone. So I wanted to make sure that you know that. I also wanted to give a quick update regarding the live streams going forward. The software that I'm using, StreamYard, I actually don't have the pro version. So I did not even realize I have a certain number of hours that they will allow me to stream. I received an email yesterday telling me that I'm a streaming machine and I am getting closer to the limit of my hours. So what I'm going to do to adjust, I'm still going to do my Instagram live streams during lunchtime. So if you're not following me on Instagram, please follow Russian Prototype on Instagram. And I'm going live between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. I'm trying to do it daily, and I'm trying to connect with you that way. As far as the YouTube live streams, I'm going to scale it back just for now to have one live stream a week. So we still be able to connect through Instagram pretty much on a daily basis. And then we're still going to do our longer live stream on Saturday, okay? And the next live stream is going to be next Saturday, which is going to be June 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So we'll keep that time for now. So just mark your calendars. Make sure that hopefully you're free and you're able to come back, but just make sure you know that this is the plan going forward with the live streams. I also, in the next few weeks, my goal is to focus on short-term content. This is another reason why I also kind of scaling back the YouTube live streams just a little bit, because my goal is to get to that 1,000 mark subscribers, and with the long form content, which comes out to be what live streams essentially end up being, it's a little bit harder to gain the audience because many people don't end up watching a long stream content. So historically speaking, the most popular videos on the channel are shorter videos between 5 to 10 minutes type of content. So I'm going to get back into that, and with the goal of achieving 1,000 subscribers mark, because this is the next milestone, and it's actually going to allow to have some amazing features for the channel, not just in terms of monetization, but also in terms of communication with all of you, with my audience. So I'm looking forward to, and I am striving to get to that 1K mark. What else? Oh, so because of that short content, actually, the new video is underway. Just be aware that it's going to be coming up within the next 24 hours. The title of the video, A Woman That Every Russian Man Wants. So similar type of content, different spin, slightly different spin on things that I'm going to talk about. So come back and see it. Maybe I will set it up as a premiere to launch it tomorrow. So you'll be able to see it on my page before it actually goes live. But I'm very curious to know your thoughts about this particular video. Some of the information actually that I'm using in this video is coming from some of the discussion that we've had with all of you on the live streams. So I'm super excited to hear your thoughts on this new video. So while we're waiting for our live guest, Linda, to join, actually one more thing. If you haven't joined the newsletter on my lovemanual.com website, go ahead and do so, because that's the way we're going to stay connected. As you know, that YouTube is a rented territory, whereas this website is essentially my website. So join the newsletter, and we'll stay in touch that way. Before I bring the Linda on, let me see who is here and give quick shout outs. We have, looks like Agatha in the house. We have Jazz in the house from UK. We have Hannah in the house, and Hannah looks like from Australia. That's amazing. We have Worldwide here tonight. Jane in the house. We have Heather in the house. We have Felicia in the house. We have Sadie in the house. Hello, Lanishka in the house. Hello. Thank you for being here, and thank you for hanging out with us. With that being said, let's go ahead and welcome our guest, Linda. How are you today? Night.
I'm fine, thank you. I missed the very first part. Good to see you too. I missed the very first part of what you were talking about in terms of cutting back.
Yeah, all I was saying, I'm going to cut back on the live streams just a little bit on YouTube live streams, because there's a couple things with that, because this software that I'm using, StreamYard, is actually not like a full version, it's a trial version. So I don't have all the hours available. They cap me at 20 hours. So I have to scale back in order not to go over limit. And then also, but if you're on Instagram, I don't know if you're on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I go live on a daily basis from Monday through Friday during lunchtime between 12 and 1 p.m. So we still be able to stay in touch that way.
I'm going to join up only for that.
Okay, that works. I love it.
Yeah. I dumped Facebook. 2 or 3 years ago, after there was a Cambridge Analytica whistleblower who discovered that Facebook was mining all this information so that they could somehow, help the Trump campaign, whatever. After that, I said, that's it. So I did it. And then I joined Twitter for a minute more recently, before Trump was out, because I wanted to see all of his tweets instead of just the selected ones they put on the news. I didn't even make it to a week. Social media has gotten so negative and mean, and I just, I don't like it anymore. So that's why I say, for you, I'll join Instagram, because I do want to see those lunch things.
Well, I appreciate that. Yes, it would be great to connect during lunch. And remember also that you can be selective about these things too. So some of the things that you don't want to see, I guess you don't have to, you can just ignore that.
Yeah. So I have one question before I get into my story. And how do you do this if you're working? Do you do this on your lunch hour? The Instagram?
Yes. Yeah, I have 1 hour lunch break. And I just get on my phone, and I usually go for 20, 25 minutes, something like that. So, it's been nice because it's just an hour way to connect with everyone and just take questions, talk about random things, what's on your mind this particular day. And then it's just been very nice, The only other thing I was saying, I was real quick, sorry. The other thing I was saying is that it's storming here right now. So if for some reason I will lose electricity, I was just telling everyone that I will use my hotspot on my phone for the internet. So just jump back in a few minutes. If for some reason like the live stream will kick you out, that probably means that I lost electricity because it's storming in the area right now. Okay. Other than that, let's go ahead and jump right in. I know that you wanted to start by kind of sharing how you came across the channel and then transition into your story, long distance relationship story. So, floor is yours. I can't wait to hear it.
Okay. Well, I was in a long distance relationship, and then I got dumped in December 6 months ago. And so I was bereft. So I started because I'm sorry, but I've been spoiled by this one Russian relationship. Can't hold a candle to American guys. So I start Googling, want another Russian boyfriend, whatever it was. And I stumbled across Russian Prototype. And I think that was back in maybe February. And at the time, Yuri had 250 something subscribers. And so that's how I found Russian Prototype, which I'm really happy that I did because it's grown so fast. And now we have this community. But, and sort of a segue, how I met my LDR was on eHarmony in May of 2018. And at that point, I was kind of, do I really want somebody? I don't know. Well, let me join this dating site. Started dragging myself into it. And I actually joined the dating site in October of 2017, but in November, I broke my kneecap. So I was out of commission for a while. And then when I finally was back home and in a lot of pain, because I still had wires in my knees and knee. And so I finally started, seeing what was going on with eHarmony. And I had all these hits. I forget if that's what you call them. But anyway, one of them was this face. And I said, oh my God. A lot of, I don't know if any of the younger crew has tried eHarmony or any of the, more traditional dating sites. I've never tried Tinder because I think that has a reputation, strictly a sex hookup site. But so anyway, I see this face, I'm like, wow. So I put a friend or whatever and he smiles back. And eHarmony, as many of you may know, they have this takes forever questionnaire, or at least it did then. All these questions, and then that's how the algorithm matches people up. So we were really high on the compatibility thing. So I think he made contact in May, it was Mother's Day. So we're going on, for a week. And then I learned he's Russian because he told me his story. He came over here and right around Hurricane Andrew time, which he's 68 now. So he was just about 4. And he came in, God, he left everybody. Came over with $200 in his pocket, and I guess he was by himself, so he went to New York. Probably, Brighton Beach? Is that sort of the Russian Little Odessa area now?
It's a big one, yeah, in New York, yeah.
So he was there for 3 months. So he was there November, December, January, probably the worst months you could ever be in New York, right? Which I don't know why that bothered him coming from Russia. He actually grew up in Sevastopol, which I think is Crimea, right, on the Black Sea. Mm-hmm. So it's cold and damp there. Anyway, he then went to Miami because Hurricane Andrew had come in, and he was the one that spoke the best English. So he and a crew of others, he couldn't drive, but they just hightailed it to Miami. And even though he had a double major from Moscow University, like everybody, he had to start out as a manual laborer here. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he told me all this story, and I was just blown away because we don't run into American men who've been through this kind of stuff. And I have a history of relationships with men who don't have enough, I don't know what to call it. Whatever it is you Russian men have, which you have explained. I've caught up on my Yuri videos now. And, you've described how it is over there. And it's just a whole different thing. And because he was older, he was definitely, he had a life in USSR. So yes, for him to come over and, work like he did, I won't get into all the other jobs, but that is, no big deal. to someone who comes over from Russia. But for an American, as you've probably observed by now, nobody's going to work at flipping burgers here or picking lettuce here or all these things here, but the immigrants will. So anyway, I was really impressed with this whole just different. And so we carried on. And then after a week, he then said, I have something to tell you, and it might not be good. So he tells me about this longtime companion who he had been involved with for like 23 years. But she was 19 years older than he is. So she now was at a stage where she wasn't well. And although he didn't talk a lot about it, I think he's, fairly loyal. And they had a very stormy relationship, but he had a great deal of loyalty to her. She also helped him find good work. He became an accountant at a firm that she had. So, at this stage of my life, I'm like, no big deal, whatever. So I said, it's not a problem. Life is complicated and all that. So we continued to have contact, and it was sporadic as she got sicker, and he was really carrying the burden of everything because when he met her, her husband had died about 10 years before. So then she passed away. I had no contact from him for a while. So I started scouring the obituaries, and I discovered that she had passed away in February, and I didn't hear from him again until I didn't want to tell him that I knew she had passed away, but I didn't hear from him until May, and he started asking me which coffee shop is the best in my town. So he had been scouring maps and stuff. And so then we resumed our, and he was grieving, and, because I'm a caring, kind, and also at my age, wise person, I was helping him get through the grieving process and all that. And then he was back and forth about coming to see me that coming summer, but then he backed out because he just didn't feel emotionally ready or whatever. So we had our long distance relationship, chat, which is what it has always been, and through the following summer. And I was coming back from Aruba, and I had purposely made my connecting flight in Miami just in case he thought he might want to meet me for coffee. I call that the sniff test. When you meet somebody for coffee, that's the sniff test. So he didn't know. And then the day before my flight, he said, yeah. But he only had an hour. And so we met for an hour at Miami International, and we clicked, of course, right away. Now, by this time, we had over a year. Chat, I was reading or listening on one of your earlier, how is it possible to kind of develop a relationship when all it is chatting? But I think, as we found on social media, it's much easier to put yourself out there from a keyboard than it is in person. And so, it's a lot easier to type how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and all of that. So by this time, which I guess that would have been, over a year at Miami International, we kind of knew each other. You've heard stories probably of in the old days, pen pals, when people would write letters, and then, they knew that they were the one, and they would meet, and they've been married for, 72 years type of thing. So I think that's how that can develop when you're having a chat, developing a long distance relationship. So that sustained for another year. He still wasn't ready. And then he came up last July for the first time. Oh, no, I flew down in November because, July. So 3 months later, I was visiting someone in Massachusetts. and at the end of October, and I let him. He always wanted to know what my flights were anytime I went anywhere, and I don't know if it was because he wanted to know if I was killed, if the flight hit the news or what, but so he agreed. Yeah, sure. So I went down and met him and spent a week with him finally in November. And then he wanted me to come back. And so I came back in January for 2 weeks, and it was great. It was wonderful. We got along. I don't know if you've had a chance to read any of my comments that I've made on some of your prior messages, but one of the things I said was, you can learn about person's temper, their kindness, because you talked about how Russian men have a temper. And yes, he did admit that he did have a temper, with his prior person, and he needed to learn how to, calm that down a little. But, and he lost his temper with me just chatting. And after a while, I could tell, because if I said something, I didn't hear from him for a day or two. So I knew he was pissed off. So I'd say, "Are you pissed?" And then, we would get it. I mean, it is, you have to be a good typist if you're going to do this.
Yeah.
So, but, once I finally met him and spent time with him, sure, everything that I knew from chatting for, God, a year and a half, I don't know, was the same way. His temper, his kindness, his caring. It was in his home, so he was preparing meals for me and all this, although I did do some cooking too. And it was great. And then, of course, we missed each other and all that, but then he was ready to start. But the thing with him coming here, he has a dog who he adores, and he can't fly because he wants to bring the dog. So for him, with the dog, it's a 15-hour deal. And because of COVID, he didn't want to stay in any hotels, and break the drive. So he would come up here and be exhausted. And, but once he was here, it was great. And it was wonderful. And I think what happened is something that you said at the beginning part of yesterday's that I was catching up on because I missed it, which is men need, and I'm trying to paraphrase what I remember, men need the physical companionship. Yeah. Because he was here for Thanksgiving, and he was talking about coming up for Christmas. And then I got my dear John text from him on December 23rd. Now, we at this point had evolved into FaceTime 3 times a week. So now we stopped the chatting, and now we were video chatting. Mm-hmm. I did notice that he seemed different the prior week. Like he'd be, "Well, babe, I gotta go," and that was all new. So the conversations that had been a couple of hours had shrunk to maybe a half hour, and more, chit chat kind of stuff. So, but anyway, after this happened, I tried to, and I have, through the months, because we still haven't totally cut ties yet.
Right.
I don't know. So he didn't even understand it himself. She's Russian. The woman he met, he walks every morning for 3 miles, and she's a walker too. I've been to this place, so a lot of people walk, and I don't know. It just happened. And he's since dropped comments like, "Well, we have to pay for, or I have to pay for my mistake," being, I guess, rash. I tried to push him. He's one of these that expects me to read between the lines. So, and then when I push him to really spit it out, then he won't. But I think what he meant was, yeah, he was too impulsive with her. And then he had said but I hate to hurt people's feelings. So anyways, it is what it is. And we are, he drops hints now and then about maybe we'll see each other again. In the beginning of this, he wanted to come see me. And I said, oh, would I be your summer girlfriend and she's your winter girlfriend? And he hadn't told her about me. And so that was that. I said, well, no can do. At least tell her about me and have her buy into the arrangement too. But, just because I'm the strong one and I know you better. So I don't know what's going on. But he, the woman he was in a relationship for all those years was very jealous. He couldn't even look at somebody, he told me, without her having a fit. And so he's, I think, just spreading his wings. Who knows? And I think at his age, maybe he's a little homesick for Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman he can have the conversation with without me going, huh, what? Or him, when he was here, he would often have Russian YouTube, shows on, and he would be translating the songs for me. And I remember feeling, oh my God, that must be such a drag for him. But he was happy to do it. But you and I, or me and whoever, can blah, 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 never think twice about it. But I think when someone's using their second language with it's very easy for me to understand accents. And then, of course, being together, body language and all that really fills in a lot of blanks. But, I would say expressions to him and I go, do you know what that means? And he'd say, no. So I realized that he had been pretty much insulated in his work relationship with the longtime companion. She was Latina. She had come up from Puerto Rico many, many years ago. But because she was so possessive and jealous and whatnot, he probably didn't get a chance to go off and, spend time with his compatriots at the Russian store or the Russian coffee shop or whatever. So I understood. I get it. But.
So thank you for sharing that. Obviously, it's a very heartfelt story. Have he told you much about his life in Russia? Did he share that part of his life with you?
A little bit. And, the other thing with him is I always had to ask him questions. In fact, when we were getting to know, you said another thing you said, Russian men, you don't ask a lot of questions. So it's uncommon to reveal personal information about yourself in the way we do here in America when we're getting to know somebody. I mean, on a first date here, you'll ask, so where are your parents from? What's going on? And when I did that with him as a way of trying to get to know him, he'd be like, why do you ask so many personal questions?
Yeah.
That's not that personal. But over time, his dad was an engineer, so they didn't have a bad life, as far as most people, I think, in the Soviet Union. Can you still hear me? Because you froze for a minute.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
He unfortunately, one thing he told me right off the bat, which was devastating to me, when he was married and had a wife and two small boys, and I think he was in his late 20s. And he, the wife, the children, and the mother and father-in-law were out driving somewhere, and they got into a head-on collision, and everyone was killed except for his father-in-law and him. I know.
Goodness.
And I met him now. He was 26 or 28 when that happened, and I meet him 40 years later. To overcome something like that, I think probably numbs you to some extent for the rest of your life. And they didn't even tell him right away. I think he was in a coma for a while. So, it's like he tells it sort of as just factual information, not how he felt. And I guess that might be because on your scale of hardcore Russian, that chart you made, hardcore Russian, he's one level below that. So he still has that ingrained in himself to not do like we Americans do. Go, oh, I was so devastated. I couldn't get over it. Men don't often open up that much either, American men, but they do a lot more. than I find my Russian friend does. So there was that, and then he married again. I think he regrets that he married her, but he had a son with her. And when he left to come here, he left even his son behind, and that was hard for him. But now his son lives in, Florida also. He's come over. He just got his citizenship, so it worked out well in that regard. But he only tells me things if I ask. He's not a person that volunteers. I don't know. Is that typical Russian man?
Yeah, especially older generation. They people who were brought up in a different regime, like in socialism. That it's just you share things with family. You don't really talk to strangers about personal things. It's never been an acceptable behavior, So I'm not surprised.
As I look back to the beginning of our chats, because we communicated on eHarmony for a while, and then he told me about Telegram. So we migrated to Telegram, and that's how we still chat to this day. But even in the early months of Telegram, he apparently had that same attitude. It's not acceptable because I was a stranger.
Yes.
But
I can understand the not psychology, the behavior, I guess, aspect of it, the cultural aspect of things, just because that's how it goes. You're not. It takes a long time for people to really warm up and to get comfortable.
And then, like you said, a person is sort of the product of their environment. So even though he's been here for so long, the longtime companion of his was somebody who didn't trust people. So that just, I think, and I'd be talking to him about all this by now because time would allow for it. I don't think a person that doesn't trust people brings out in a Russian person who didn't trust people, because he told me how, when he was living there, you had to be quiet, and you're basically always looking over your shoulder, because he grew up with neighbors calling on neighbors and people getting carted off, which blows my mind. I mean, I've known this, but to know somebody, this is, from my perspective, or an American who's grown up with no threats or concerns, whatever, and to meet someone who up till then I've only seen in movies or heard about it, but it's kind of way out there somewhere, and to have him with me, shocking that he grew up that way.
Yeah.
Basically a paranoid society, I would say, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just a lot of things going on there that people would never experience in America, And
I don't know, how old were you when the Soviet Union fell?
I was 9.
So I don't know what it was for you as a little boy. If you have experiences or memories of that.
Yeah, it's very distant memories. It's not like contextual per se, like I just remember certain things. I remember seeing things on TV. I remember it's being like a big topic of discussion, but I was a kid, it didn't affect me directly, I would say, as much as it did other people, adults who were working and who were, into the system, because there was a specific system that was installed prior to Soviet Union collapsing. So everything changed after that point, or a lot of things changed. And the 90s were just a devastating time in Russia, because there are many banks that defaulted. There were a number of murders that were skyrocketing. There were heroin epidemic that was going on in Russia. It was just a scary time. It was very dark times, the 90s, you know.
Yeah.
And go ahead, sorry.
No, he left in 92. And I asked him why he left. He said, I didn't want to live in a country run by the mafia.
That is a whole different conversation, but like the way that his country is run is also kind of, it's frightening, because you know, it's close to what it is actually, you know.
Well,
And
you know,
so,
and maybe I misunderstood him, but I thought at the time he was referring to Putin and Putin's cronies who ended up basically taking all the wealth. Well, as I understand it, I don't know. But I never asked him, well, what do you mean by mafia? You know, because by this time, he's one of these people that if I ask a question because I don't understand it, and he decides it's a stupid question, he would tell me that's a stupid question. Why don't you think about it before you ask? So we would get into a cultural war about that. And well, I wouldn't ask it if I already knew. Yeah, you know, I don't know if it's like this with all mixed couples, so to speak, but the cultural barrier, I think we had, you know, a little bit of a cultural barrier. I'm a child of the 60s, the hippies, if you've heard of that history.
I have.
I wasn't a hippie, but that's my generation. But, you know, that same generation, which is him in the Soviet Union, two different planets, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, you know, we might have been able to work it out, but something happened to him and he just, you know, this woman, and that's that. Although I think I wrote this to you, he had said to me he doesn't have the bond with her that he has with me, but 800 and something miles is a big difference. Are we
It
having
is a big difference.
Are we having a lot of lurkers? I see you have
I'm sure we have a few. I'm sure we have a few. Let's see how many likes we have. Looks like 16 likes and 15 people watching. So we're in good shape. People come and go. Good. It's not concurrent viewers. It's like people come in and then they leave. So
I saw Crystal had to leave. I just saw a comment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was Crystal you were asking, how's it possible to get to know somebody by just chats? And that's why I was talking about how easy it is to divulge when you're on the other side of a screen.
Yeah, most definitely. This is a fascinating story. So, what would you say were some takeaways for you in terms of, you know, long distance in general? Obviously, you can talk probably for hours as far as what it's like to date a Russian man, and we can touch on that. But as far as the long distance, I mean, did you like it? Would you do it again? Were there, because you already said that there's definitely it allowed you to open up, and you said it allows people to open up a little bit in a different way because you are doing it via the phone. So you have to share, you have to go an extra mile to communicate. But were there any other like major takeaways that you saw?
Well, it was funny because when we would have to part, whether it was me leaving Florida, there would be about 2 weeks of awful. But I laughed one day because I was telling a friend of mine, but then after that, it's great. I have my space back. So for me, maybe at this stage, I mean, I'm way past there's, you know, children and, you know, I'm not sure I need to get married or want to get married. I mean, I'm independent and all that. So, you know, a takeaway for me might be, well, maybe long distance relationship is for me because, you know, as long as we can meet periodically, because I like my space. In fact, I saw a comment that I can't remember her name, but that she said this might work for me because I like my space. And, I've been alone on my own for about 7 years now. And he has his own place. I was the first woman he ever had in there because the longtime companion would not go visit because it was inappropriate. So, but he's got his space, things and we're older than you guys. We're a generation older than you. I mean, I'm the grandmother of your channel, I think. So,
you're very youthful, though. You have that
huh?
spirit. You have that spirit and that energy about you that I can feel. You're not, you don't act like an elderly individual.
Oh, right. I know. Well, I'm very immature for my age, and that's always been my goal.
Hey,
I
this
have,
actually played in your favor this time. So
yeah. So, I don't know. My takeaway. Well, I think I wrote to you in a comment too. I'm not sure I would try another one unless he lived 3 hours drive or less away. But right now, at the moment, I don't think I want to because this long distance relationship coupled with this Russian, it's like my first kiss. My first time, and I don't want to sully it with another one. So the whole experience is up on the pedestal.
oh, that's amazing. Long distance relationship is bad enough. Coupled with a Russian, it's like a dynamite.
Exactly. So I'm not in any hurry to find another. Though I did. Oh. Let's see. I think after I found you on Google, then I said, well, why don't I try some dating sites again? So I went back onto eHarmony. And it's interesting because in time of COVID, there weren't that many. But now, since, we're getting our vaccines and the masks are coming down, now I'm getting more and more new people.
Yes.
Which I keep deleting. Because I'm sort of like, well, yes, but no. I mean, I'm going to carry a torch for him for a while. There's no two ways about that. And, so what? I'm not wasting time. My biological clock is not ticking because the batteries ran out a long time ago. So, yeah. I have to tell you guys. I found a Russian dating site, RussianHearts.com. So I joined that. And I don't understand. I mean, I got a few, but anyway, this one was very interesting. Marcus, widowed with an adopted son who's a doctor. I think I wrote to you about that. Well, long story short, Marcus, who claimed to have lost his phone, over the side of the boat, which made sense because I Googled doctors, Russia, UK, whatever it was, and I found out that he said he worked for the United Nations. So there's a maritime arm of the UN who goes, on ships through, just to see, I guess, about I don't know. So evidently these guys knew about this doctor, and they probably had photos of him from maybe the newsletter that they got because they're part of the maritime arm of the UN. So they had his pictures up there. And so dropping the phone over the ship kind of made sense to me. I figured, well, he probably was on a ship, whatever. And then I started to get suspicious. And I said, what kind of a doctor are you? And then they had a photo of him and a couple of other people with him in his scrubs. And he goes, this is part of my crew, and on and on. But I think I could tell that there was a change in the the mood, if you will, from one moment to the next. Because after a while, I said, well, why don't we switch to Telegram? And it was then, well, my phone, I dropped it over the ocean. I think what happened was it's a bunch of sailors on the desktop. That might be the communal desktop. And there were different guys logging in and out as Marcus. And at one point, just as I was done, because some of them lost their temper with me, the Russian sailors, and accused me of being crazy because I was asking about, I was just asking questions because I was getting suspicious. And the first, giveaway when you're catching somebody is they will lash out at you, which in that case was, you're insane.
Yeah.
So I think the last message I got had something to do, well, if you could send me an iPhone, and that would have been the beginning of, so I contacted Russian Hearts and I said about what's going on, and this isn't fair to all the vulnerable, lonely women out there, and this Marcus so-and-so is a fraud, so they got rid of him. But yeah, he was the only one that spoke some English, and I could tell it wasn't actually the right English for a doctor, for a physician. But anyway, that was my thrilling adventure with RussianHearts.com, which is an international site, but I think maybe the Russians want to meet Russian. I don't know. I don't go. I'm still a member, but I just don't visit it much. I don't get emails that anybody's looking.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I got spoiled by my Russian guy, so it's going to take me a while to give up on the idea of, I mean, if some of these other women on here want to tell me how they met theirs, that might be helpful.
Here we go. Women in the chat, please comment how you met your Russian people. In the meantime, I wanted to ask you specifically as it pertains to him, to the Russian guy.
Yeah.
What's some of the pros and some of the cons of dating a Russian older gentleman?
Well, as an older American lady, I think one of the cons, and even though I'm an older lady, like I said, I'm very immature for my age. I could be considered timeless. I've never been rigid. I think an older Russian gentleman is a little more set in his ways. Maybe a little more set in his ways than an American his age might have been. Then there's the usual things of aging, back aches, knee aches.
Are you telling me that it's a Russian thing?
Oh, no. Well, you said older Russian gentleman. I guess no,
right.
It's not a Russian. Right. Well, there's older, and then there's Russian gentleman.
Right.
And then
I got you.
So I don't see any. He was very kind. It didn't have to be my way or the highway. He didn't expect me to. Well, maybe he did in a way when he was here. He sort of expected me to. He got mad at me one day because I didn't understand that he might be hungry at such and so time. I only eat when I feel hungry. And for me, my first meal of the day could be at 2:00 in the afternoon. So yeah, that was kind of an issue. I think that would be it. Older men are set in their ways a little bit or a lot.
What about the pros?
Not easily bothered by anything, sort of been there, done that kind of thing. Pretty much things roll off the back. what else? A wisdom. I really got to see about the Russian soul in through him. And I think with anybody, regardless of the culture, as we age, our soul comes through more. But the Russian soul is particularly striking to me. In fact, I have to say, I loved Russia before I knew what Russia was. And I loved him before I knew he was Russian. Just at first sight. And of course, I believe in reincarnation and all this other stuff, which is a whole nother topic.
Yes.
But, I think I may have lived in Russia in in fact, I'm sure of it. And even he said when, first he dumped me and then there was, a gap and then I calmed down and then there was a little bit of this communication, and he actually said maybe next lifetime. I said, you believe in reincarnation? He said yes. So who knows? But I think the Russian, I think a pro is just the whole. The Russian soul is probably there in everybody who's Russian. Right? It doesn't matter about the age, I would think. What do you think?
I'm very, very curious. Can you define it, obviously in your own terms? What is a Russian soul? What is it? What does it mean to you?
Boy, that's a good one. I hadn't thought about it. It is I think it's in the cells of him and maybe all Russian people, the vastness of the country, the age of the country, there's been a lot of war and whatnot, but unless I'm mistaken, my impression is that the people of Russia from east to west are the same people that have been there from the beginning, just generations down. Where America, because we're small, we're only 200 and whatever 75 years old, and we've had people come in from all over. So our native people, which would be the Indians, are all mixed up with everybody else. Russia, and you can educate me here, hasn't had a lot of immigrants. Am I right?
Not a whole lot. It's not. It's relatively. It's been closed country for centuries. So
right.
And now like you have to ask, what is the incentive to immigrate to Russia? There's a lot of incentive to come to America, but America, as you mentioned, is a country of immigrants to begin with. That's how it's been built. But Russia is that classic Slavic country that had tsars and a century of culture and not a whole lot of outside. I don't want to say influence. There was certainly influence, but not a lot of people that would go to Russia to live in Russia.
Not a lot of outside blood. So, there's a theory. Now, I'm part Native American and also part Chinese. Small part, but enough that I'm a member of a.
That's why you look so young.
I think so. Between the Native American and the Chinese,
you have the genes.
You have the genes. They help. But the Native American people feel that all of the trauma that the natives suffered here in the 200 and whatever years ago, when the English or the white people started to come over, gets carried forward into the generations just by the genes and the DNA. There she says, Russian soul is like a strong tree with deep roots. Lanachka. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's it. Because, my Native American side of me would hug, and I have hugged big, strong trees. So maybe that was it too. There's the native people in this country had been here forever. In fact, they think they may have come over from Russia through the Bering Strait, and they came down, that way. In fact, in Northern California, where my tribe is and where I lived for about 5 years before I came here to Tennessee, was a heavily Russian fur traders were there. There's a Russian river now. There's a Sebastopol, which is named, I'm sure, after Sevastopol. So there's a heavy Russian influence where my ancestors are from. But anyway, back to what I was saying, Russia is still Russia. The same blood, spirit, soul that's been there forever. And that's why I say maybe I'm wrong and you have to correct me, because there's been no mixing. There hasn't been people coming in. I mean, the only kinds of taking over has been the czars, taking over here, or the, Mongolians fight, but it's all the same people in this giant piece of world. So yeah. I think that's what causes that sensation, at least that I pick up, and I'm real sensitive that way, intuitive or whatever. I think that's what gives the Russian people the so-called Russian soul, because all of the suffering and whatnot, and Felicia says strong resolve. Yeah, all the suffering and everything is still in your DNA. And it makes people who suffer very, I don't want to say romantic, because I don't mean romantic in the love way, but romantic in the way of creating beautiful music, beautiful art. Pain is a thing that creates a lot of beauty, if you understand what I'm meaning. So I feel this. Anyway, it's a long-winded answer to your question, but
no, it's great. It's great. It's very interesting to hear your perspective, and the fact that you think that because you never been there. You look at it as you have that innate feeling, and then obviously you have experience with the interaction with the Russian gentleman, and then yet you able to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? You're able to perceive these things, which to me it's sort of incredible, because I can resonate with what you're saying.
Huh. Well, like I say, I loved Russia before I even knew about Russia, as a little girl. So if there is such a thing as past lives, I'm sure I lived there. And so that's why I have this gut feeling toward the country. I told him one time, but I've never followed the politics. I mean, my memory of things is, I remember Khrushchev and, the Sputnik and all. And I was about 12 at the time, or 11. And then, the communists, they're awful and all that. But I just never paid attention. I forgot what I was going to say. I lost track. Something made me to not talk about that. I remember. So anyway, through all of this, and even growing up, I never followed anything Russian. Of course, we weren't supposed to. We used to have these dive and cover exercises in school. We'd hit the floor and go under our desk in case the Russians drop an atomic bomb on us. So this is how I grew up in the 60s, because the Cold War was, at its peak. Gorbachev came along, and he was warm and friendly seeming. And I wrote a letter. By this time I was in my young 30s, younger than you. I wrote a letter to President Gorbachev, USSR. I figured he'd get it eventually, but I wrote how much I liked him and admired him. And, these two countries have to get together and blah, blah, blah. But I actually did something like that. And maybe it was
That's
crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah, but you know,
did you take a picture of the letter? Did you save it?
no, I mean, no, I should have, but it didn't seem like any big deal to me at the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Anywho,
great stuff.
so I think when I made the comment yesterday about, oh, that's my beagle yelling at me to feed him. Can you hear him?
Yeah.
He says, "You're way late for feeding me." I gave him a dog cookie to shut him up so I could get through this. But
He's not happy.
I have 3 dogs and 3 cats. The other 2 dogs are outside right now, so they don't bother me. But it's hot here. Is it hot down there?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. So I didn't want to leave him outside. So it's 6 o'clock. I don't know how long we've been at this. I could
We've been at it for 1 hour. Yeah, for 1 hour. But as I mentioned to you, you know, I mean, if you need to go, please don't let me hold you. I know you have things to do. It's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I could go and then continue to listen. But I did want to say one thing. I asked yesterday toward the end, what's the maximum number of people you can have on, why do they have a duck there? I keep wanting to call it Duck Stream, but you know, the logo for your thing, StreamYard. Is
I
that
like that. It is a duck. Yeah. With the headphones on.
I figured if you could fill it up to the max with us, we could have like a panel discussion amongst ourselves and then break for you going through the questions and all that. That was why I asked what the maximum was, because a panel might be interesting.
Yeah, so there might be some things coming down the pipe pretty soon. So there were a couple people from the community were giving their ideas about Zoom calls, you know, Zoom.
Yeah, but then the world doesn't get to see Zoom, I don't believe.
But Facebook Room could be another option, which I think it's also kind of private, I believe. But the caveat is that a lot of people, they don't feel comfortable with being on a video like you are. So I keep inviting people.
Look, I just put a sticker over.
I know. But even then, you know, even then, I think it's somewhat uncomfortable for people, and you know, I get it. So I ask a question, but I never really push people to be online if they don't feel comfortable being online, you know.
Well, you know, maybe it'll take time, but at the moment you have 2 or 3 men and me. We need some more women. Felicia's she's fine with it.
Yeah, we had Heather on, we had Cyan on, just at different live streams. On one live stream, I had both Felicia and Cyan on, so we had some people. It's just not, you know, it's just kind of challenging to bring everybody at the same time. But I think, like you said, in the future, it'll be possible, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to send a Gmail out to those of us who get your Gmails, and you can say, hey, live stream at such and so.
Do it. Or else.
Because, well, what happens is if it's all filled up and somebody comes along to, you know, click on the link, it probably won't work, right? So
I haven't tested that yet. Haven't tested it. I think that if they click on the link once it's full, they're just not going to be able to get in, you know?
Right. So you could just make it first come, first serve.
Yeah, but we're not even near that problem yet. I'm trying to pull people in, you know?
Well, that's what do you mean? More viewers?
Well, more people to actually be in a live stream like you are right now, you know? So until we have 5 people or 4 people consistently who want to be on the live stream, I'm not going to have a problem of people not being able to get in, you know?
Oh, so you don't have a lot of people that are communicating with you by Gmail yet?
No. People communicate with me by Instagram, even through chat sometimes. I'm just saying that right now, as it stands, people not really comfortable joining the live stream. Like they enjoy listening, but they not necessarily are like wanting to be live. But I think with time, as we progress and we continue to do that, and people watch the live streams and they see how kind of seamless and easy it is, I think they will warm up to the idea.
Well, and I think if people have been FaceTiming with their friends by now, which a lot of us have because of COVID, the whole thing of talking to a screen is now easy. I've been, I after a couple of months after lockdown, I didn't like talking to anybody on the phone, because normally when you're on the phone with somebody, you're looking around at your walls and stuff. Well, I was looking at my walls enough already. And so I don't want to talk on the phone with people anymore.
Yes.
So if I'm not the only one that felt like that, we may have a lot of our folks who, you know, they're comfortable with FaceTime. And so this is no different.
Yeah. Well, the difference is that when you're doing FaceTime, nobody else can see you. Whereas here, like people can see you, and it stays on YouTube, you know?
So what?
I think some people, there are a couple of people in the audience mentioned they may be a little bit concerned with their jobs or with the people that know them. So, you know, like it's just different things like that I might not be aware of. So like when somebody says no, like I'm not really questioning people, but Lanishka did join. She said accidentally the live stream on Instagram. It was quite cool actually. So you know, hopefully we'll do it again.
All right. Well, I'm going to get off because I don't want to monopolize your 1 hour, and I know you're trying to keep it short, and it's over an hour now. So I'm going to say goodbye. I don't know how I hang up.
I appreciate you being here. It was awesome to interact with you and to learn about your story. Thank you so much, Linda. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was so much fun. Thank you all for being here still and for hanging out with us. It does feel just like evening hangout time, doesn't it? We're just chatting, looking at comments, exchanging opinions, and that's it. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Anything else that I can answer in the meantime? I love the interaction that you have in the chat. I love the comments. I love the ideas. The conversation is rich. It's super rich. I think this is a good place for us to stop tonight, unless you have some additional questions. I think what I can do actually, I can just put a bow on this subject really quickly because we didn't get to do it yesterday. Bow on the subject of long distance relationships. So super cool story, useful information. Thank you, Linda, for taking the time and sharing that story with us. From my perspective, I wanted to talk about thriving versus surviving, just to put a bow on it, like I said, on this subject. So when I think about thriving in a long distance relationship, I'm thinking about communication. I'm thinking about consistency. I'm thinking about sharing experiences, showing love, being open-minded, and then purpose. And I kind of put purpose in caps because I think it does make a difference. It does make a difference when two people having these conversations and engaging with each other by having purpose in mind. Like, you know, there is a difference when boyfriend and girlfriend communicate when they are separated let's say for a few months, and they know they're going to be back together, and they have this purposeful communication day in and day out. They really take time. They really cater to each other versus, you know, a lack of purpose and just having a kind of a chit chat online. That the sharing experience thing is also one of these important factors when it comes to online dating. As Linda mentioned, you know, you connect on a different level. So being able to put yourself out there and talk about your experiences, helps to draw the picture, because I'm not there with you. So by you telling me these things and describing it, and telling me details about your day, about your experiences, it really helps me to conceptualize what you're going through. It allows me to be part of your world. And that has to be part of a long distance relationship in order for it to thrive. And of course, communication and consistency, those type of things, you just can't get away from it. It's a common sense, yet is easier said than done, because you have to pick up the phone, you have to crave time or carve out time, for these video chats and for being able to connect with your significant other and do so consistently. So these are some of the things that I believe would really benefit the long distance relationship. It would really take your relationship from an average one to a thriving one. And then, it's surviving. We talk about surviving the relationship. It's the opposite, right? It's the lack of care and communication. It's the lack of presence, lack of respect, and no shared outcomes. And, when you start experiencing those type of things, the relationship is going to diminish. And unless you turn those things around, you're going to be hard pressed to make your long distance relationship successful. These are my thoughts on the matter. And it's certainly not going to go anywhere, given the environment that we're currently in with internet and social media, and our planet continues to shrink because of technology. We're only going to witness more and more long distance relationships. So we just got to equip ourselves with knowledge. First of all, understand whether or not we want to be part of it. And then if we do choose to be part of it, we just got to be realistic about the expectations and what it would take to actually have one. Let's see any other last moment remarks, anything else that we need to address. Looks like Jazz B asked, Yuri, are you a naturalized citizen now? If you married another foreign woman, could you both live in US permanently? Yes, I am a citizen. And if I marry someone, I believe that she would become a citizen as well. Thank you for your question. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Just a couple of reminders. Thank you all for joining. I hope you smashed the like button. I hope you enjoyed tonight's live stream. Just a few reminders for you again that I touched on in the beginning of the stream. Scaling back on live streams on YouTube, and continue to have live streams on Instagram Monday through Friday during lunchtime, 12 to 1 p.m. Continue to have Saturday live streams on YouTube, and really focusing on a short form content on YouTube to reach to that 1K milestone number of subscribers, to unlock more features for YouTube in order to be able to go to a different level in terms of communication with all of you. Next live stream will take place on Saturday, June 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. No topic for it yet, so please send your suggestions in, what you would like to see. New video is underway. A woman that every Russian man wants. It's almost done. So I'm going to be dropping it within a day or so. So tune in on my YouTube channel for that. Other than that, my friends, I hope to see you. Let's see. I think maybe there is another question by Heather. Yuri, I hear there is men shortage in Russia. Would you ever consider marrying a Russian woman and bringing her to live here in the US? Yes, I would consider. I would consider it. It would take definitely some time for me to get to know that person. It would take some certain level of comfort to get to that point. And it would certainly take the challenge, I think, with that is to spend time together. So I would like to really know the person to the best of my abilities. And this is the challenge when it comes to obviously marrying someone from Russia or from any other country for that matter. And I also know how things go in Russia, and I know that many people are in survivor mode in Russia, and therefore many people will do anything to come to US. Therefore, that would make me a little bit more skeptical. But it's not to say that that's going to prevent me from considering that. I would still be open to the possibility. Like I said, I would just have to find a way to spend time and get to know the person for who she really is. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your question. Linda, love you too. Thank you so much for being here and for contributing and just sharing your story. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to open up in front of the entire world and just, sharing so openly. And we love you too. You can see it in the chat. People really resonated with your message, and they loved you, Linda. My friends, I think this is good for the weekend. We did a lot of work. We've covered a lot of ground with long distance relationships. I think we now feel more confident about approaching a long distance relationship or having one. Hopefully we do. I feel like it's all I've been talking about for the last 2 days is just long distance relationships. Loving those conversations, obviously loving to connect with every single one of you. Super appreciative of you being here and just engaging with the community, asking questions, commenting, interacting. I'm going to catch you on my next video. I'm going to catch you tomorrow during Instagram live stream. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Be well. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Stay positive. Stay uplifted. Be everything you want to be. Have a wonderful evening. Have a great week. I will be seeing you soon. Take care.